All right, so today we're going to talk about rhombus and square. And so let's take a look at this. So, because a rhombus is a parallelogram, all of your parallelogram properties still apply. So everything we talked about last week still works here. Opposite sides congruent, opposite sides parallel, opposite angles congruent, consecutive angles supplementary, and your diagonals still bisect each other. So there are three new ones that we need to know when it comes to the rhombus. And so let's take a look at those. So the first new one with your rhombus is all your sides are congruent. Okay, so that didn't happen last week with our parallelogram, didn't happen with our rectangle, but today you will see that all the sides of your rhombus are congruent. The next property that's going to work with this new shape, the rhombus, has to do with your diagonals. Your diagonals, okay, and this is new. This did not happen last week with your parallelogram or your rectangle. Your diagonals are going to bisect your angles. Okay, this did not happen last week. So let's see what that actually means. Remember, bisects means cuts in half. So let's draw a rhombus up here. And it doesn't have to be a work of art. Okay, so let's draw a diagonal. So let's make it red. So let's draw a diagonal from top to bottom. There's a diagonal. So here's what this says. If they started me out and they said, okay, that angle up there is 150. This whole corner is 150. Your diagonal now is actually going to cut that 150 in half. Because when you have that diagonal, what you should see is it splits, it's cutting your angle. And so your two smaller angles, okay, if that's 150, the whole corner, this whole corner is 150, then these two angles down up here, if you split it in half, would be 75 and 75. Now, we know from last week that opposite angles are congruent, so this whole corner here would still be 150, but again, your diagonal, which is your red line, is going to cut it in half, so the two smaller angles made are 75 and 75. That's what it means for a diagonal to bisect your angle. Now, also remember from last week that this angle and this angle, okay, those are consecutive, so they have to add up to 180. So if that whole corner up there is 150, then you know this whole corner should be 30. Okay, which would make this corner over here 30. Opposite angles congruent. Today, diagonals, so I'm going to draw another diagonal. The diagonal is going to bisect that corner. Bisect that corner angle, cut it in half. So that means the smaller angle right here is going to be 15, and this smaller piece is 15. Same thing over here. The smaller angle be 15, 30 divided by 2, and this would be 15. Okay, so that's new. Diagonals bisect your angles. The third thing that's going to be new today with your rhombus is it's going to deal with your diagonals again. Your diagonals are going to be what we call perpendicular. And perpendicular, we're going to make a note, okay, means they intersect, and we can see that up there if we look at our picture. But if you have perpendicular lines or perpendicular segments, okay, perpendicular means when they intersect, they make or form right angles. Okay. And what do we know about right angles? They're 90 degrees. Okay. So perpendicular, the diagonals are perpendicular. So where they cross, they make right angles. So if we come back up to our picture, okay, where your two diagonals intersect, okay, right here in the middle, each one of these angles is 90. And you can write 90 if you want, or you can put the box, because remember the box represents a 90-degree angle, represents a right angle. So all four of those angles are 90 degrees. So those are our three new facts. All your sides are equal. Okay, so again, every side is the same. So if they tell you this side right here is 22, then you know all four other sides, three sides are 22. Your diagonals bisect your angles. So that just means your angles are cut in half in the corners, okay, on both corners. And the last one, diagonals are perpendicular. So they're in the middle. Those four angles in the middle are 90 degrees. Okay, so those are our three new things we'll be working with, along with the other 5 that we've worked with for the last week. All right, so I'm going to do number 1, then we'll let you guys try to do number 2. So remember when we did these, we said don't look at the picture or don't look at what they're asking. Just take the information up here and fill it wherever you can. So JK, that's a side, is 12. What do we know about the sides of a rhombus? They are all congruent. So every side is going to be 12. Okay. The next piece of information they give me is JN is 7. So again, this is JN. It's part of your diagonal. And so we just kind of write it right on top. Oh, that's not a good 7, is it? Well, that's supposed to be a 7. Now, remember, what do we know about diagonals from last week? They bisect each other. They cut each other in half. So if JN is 7, then we know that NL has to be what? 7. Good. Okay, diagonals bisect each other. Those two smaller pieces of your diagonal are equal. Now, the last piece of information they give me is that NK is 10. So again, I need to locate NK. NK is 10. I'm going to put that on my piece. It's part of my diagonal. So what do I know MN is? Diagonals bisect each other. So if that small piece is 10, this piece is 10. Now, we've put all our information on our picture. Let's see what they actually want us to answer. So JM, again, just make sure you're looking at the right piece. JM is a side, so we know it's 12. JL. JL is this entire diagonal. Okay, so what would that measure? Good, 7 plus 7. You have to add your pieces, right? So that would be 14. MN, again, trace it with your pencil or your pen on your paper. You already know that's 10. And MK. MK is the entire diagonal. So again, you have to add your pieces. The first piece is 10. The second piece is 10. So MK is 20. Good. All right, so you guys try number 2. Pause the video. Fill in your picture. Don't worry about what they're asking you for. Fill in all this information first, and then come back. So again, pause it, try it, come back and check. All right, so again, I'm going to label what I know. EF is 23, so that means all other sides of my rhombus are 23. All sides congruent. Then I have to look at DF. DF is the entire diagonal. So remember when we did this last week with your parallelogram and rectangle, we said don't try to put DF on the entire diagonal because that's confusing if you don't put it in the right place. So if the whole thing is 40, how much would it be from D to H? How much would it be from here to here? Remember, they bisect each other. Good, it would be 20. Because bisect means cuts in half. So 40 divided by 2 is 20. which means the other half, HF, would also be 20. And you can always check yourself, just make sure if they add them up, they add back up to your 40. Then the last piece of information is EH. That is just part of a diagonal. So that part is 11. Okay, so if you know that part from E to H is 11, what do you know H to G? Good, it is also 11. Diagonals bisect each other. So the two smaller pieces need to be equal. All right, so now we just got to go and see what they want us to come up with. So let's see, let me pick a different color. Let's do orange. GF, first thing you want to do is locate it. There's GF. GF is a side. All my sides are congruent, so GF is 23. Now they want HF. H to F, right here. We've already divided by 2 and figured out that was 20. GH, this piece right here. Okay, again, if we know that piece is 11 above it, we know that piece has to be 11. Diagonals bisect each other. And then last but not least, they want GE, which is the whole diagonal. So that's made up of 2 parts. The first part is 11. The second part is 11. So you have to add and come up with 22. Good. All right, one more with the sides. So again, fill in what you know. RT, the whole thing is 22. If the whole thing is 22, what is it from R to V? Diagonals bisect, so 22 divided by 2, this piece would be 11 from R to V, and from V to T would also be 11. Good. The next part they give me is US. So again, trace it so you can see what you got. Whole thing is 18. Okay. What would the smaller 2 pieces be? Diagonals bisect. 18 divided by 2, 9, and 9. The last piece of information they give us is that UR is a side, is 14. What do we know about the sides of a rhombus? They are congruent. So this side is 14, this side is 14, and this side is 14. Go over and see what they want, because again, depends on the question. That's why I just say fill in everything. You never know what they're going to ask you for. So let's see, VT. VT, got to find it first. Here's V to T. We know that's half of 22. It's 11. UV. UV is a part of our diagonal. Diagonals bisect, which means they cut in half. We figured that out to be 9. RS. RS is a side. All my sides are congruent. So if one of them is 14, all of them are 14. And ST. ST is another side. So I know that one is 14 also. All right, so the next 2 deal with angles. So this looks crazy, but I would fill in my picture first, then come down and see. So a couple things we know, okay? A couple new things we learned. First thing we learned is that this diagonal cuts this whole corner right here in half. Okay, so if we know that this piece of the corner is 38, then we know that angle 3 is also 38. Bisects means cuts in half. So if one piece is 38, the other piece has to be 38. So this whole corner, if they asked us, we would just add them together. We would know the whole corner is 76. Okay. Now, what we do know also is that this angle is opposite this whole corner. Okay. So they are congruent. The diagonal is bisecting. So if this angle and this angle are congruent, so they would be 76, 38 plus 38. If I want to know angle 4 and angle 5, I have to bisect 76, and so that would be 38 and 38 for the pieces. Bisects means cuts in half. Now, the next thing most of you probably will go to is say, okay, well, I also know that my diagonals, so these 2 lines, are perpendicular. And perpendicular tells me that all of my angles in the middle, this angle, this angle, this angle, and angle 8, are 90 degrees. Now, some people said, I prefer to write the 90. That's fine. You can write 90 in all of these angles, or some people like the box to represent 90. Whatever you want to do. But those 4 angles in the middle are 90 degrees. Diagonals are perpendicular. Now, there are 2 ways to figure out 1, 2, 7, and 6. I'm going to show you the way I think most people like. Okay, if you want to try it another way, run it by us. We'll let you know if it's the right process. So, if I look at this shape right here, because if you look inside your rhombus, you actually have 4 triangles, right? If I want to figure out angle 2 right here, what do you guys know about the angles of a triangle? The 3 angles of a triangle, the 90, the 38, and the one that we're looking for, have to add up to 180. So if I want to know what this angle 2 is, I can do 180 minus, can add the 2 that I have, 90 and 38, would be 128. Okay. And that will tell me what I have left for angle 2. So 180 minus 28, let's see, 2 would give us 30, so that would give us 52 degrees. So angle 2, I'm going to erase my little circle there. Angle 2 is, what did I say? 52, right? Okay, 52 degrees. Now, you could do that again. You could look over here and look at just that triangle, do it again, but hopefully you remember diagonals bisect each other. So if this angle is 52, then you know this angle has to be 52. Okay. And then if you come over here, if you added those together, you'd get 104, 52 plus 52. So this whole corner has to be 104. Okay. This diagonal bisects it, cuts it in half. So 104 divided by 2, shockingly enough, still 52 and 52. While it looks kind of messy, it kind of comes apart pretty easily if you take your time and fill in your picture. Once you do that, you can fill in all of these. So angle 1, now we just got to look at our picture, 52. Angle 2 is 52. Angle 3, we figured was 38. Angle 4, also 38. Angle 5, 38. Angle 6, where's angle 6? Oh, there it is. 52. Sometimes it's hard to find them. Angle 7, 52. And angle 8, which is in the middle, has a box, we know is 90. So, let's try to fill in all the angles on this one. We're going to hold off, let's hold off on these sides right here for now. We'll come back to those. Let's take the angle they're giving me, ZXY, so Z to X to Y, so it's this corner piece up here. It's not the whole corner, it's just half of it. We know that's 34, so I'm going to put 34 in there. So again, take a minute, pause the video, see if you can fill in every other angle. Once you've tried it by yourself, come back and check. Alright, so let's see. Well, this line right here is a bisector, or it's a diagonal, and we know it cuts our corner in half. So if that angle is 34, I know this angle is 34. With that being said, then I can come down to the opposite corner. I know this is 34 and this is 34. Opposite angles have to be congruent. Okay, it would be 68 for the whole corner, divided by 2, 34. Second thing I know, okay, is these 4 angles in the middle are all 90. And again, you can write the 90 or you can put the box. Some people said they preferred writing 90. They think they're going to forget what the little box in the corner means. So those are all 90. Good. So if you follow what we did, the same format that I did, you can pick any one of these 4 triangles, the 4 small triangles. Okay, last time we picked the top one, This time let's pick the bottom one, just to show you it doesn't matter which triangle you pick. So if I want this piece right here, then I can use my triangle. The 3 angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. So I can add 90 and 34, and I get 124. If I know they have to add up to 180, I can do 180 minus, and that will tell me what I have left for my angle. So 180 minus 24, 6 makes it 30, so that'd be 56. Well, terrible looking 5. If this is 56, if this piece of the corner is 56, because your diagonal bisects your angle, I know this is 56. Or you could use the next triangle. Okay. If those two are 56, which would give me what, 112, this whole corner up here would be 112, opposite angles congruent. If you bisect 112, divide it by 2, these end up being 56 again. So now we can just jump over to the angle part. We'll come back to the sides in a second and see what they want. So some of us struggle a little with this. Just trace it with your pencil. Okay, WXZ. WXZ would be that corner piece up there. So that is 34. Okay. Now, WVZ. WVZ, and it's hard to see because I've written all over my picture, but V is in the middle there. So if I want WVZ, WVZ, let's see, I'll squiggle it so we can see it a little different, would be that angle right there, and that angle right there is 90. Because remember, you always look at your vertex. Vertex is your middle letter. Okay, you need the other 2 letters to tell you what part of V to look at. All right, ZWY. Oh, I said that wrong, right? ZYW. Okay, let me pick orange again. ZYW. Oh. ZYW would be this angle right here. So we said that was 56. We used our triangle to get that one. Okay. And yeah, your picture can get a little messy, but you guys have pencils so you can erase. And XYW, 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 because I even have to trace these. There's too much stuff going on. So again, I'm going to kind of loopity-loop. X to Y, up to W, so that's this angle right here, and we said that one is also 56. Now, what I would do for the segment part, the other 4 answers, is I would go ahead and erase all of this off my picture, unless you're good at squeezing things in, and kind of start fresh, or you can redraw the picture real quick so that you have a blank picture to work with. All right, so let's look at the sides. ZY. ZY is down here. They're telling me that's 34, so I know all my sides are 34. Okay, all sides congruent. They tell me that WY, so you gotta look, that's why I say trace, is 38, so that's the entire diagonal. Diagonals bisect each other, so WV would be 19, and VY would be 19. 38 divided by 2. I wouldn't put the 38 on my picture. And then over there, it's kind of off to the side, they tell me ZX. So let's see if I can find ZX. ZX is the other diagonal. They're telling me the whole thing is 56. So if I just want the pieces, remember they're half, so 56 divided by 2, 28, and 28. Now, let's see what they want. So, WZ. WZ, WZ. WZ is a side. All my sides are congruent. Be 34. VY. VY is half of my diagonal. You figured out that was 19. We did 38 divided by 2. ZV. ZV is half of my other diagonal. Okay, the whole thing was 56. We divided that in half. We got 28. And then ZX, just kind of a silly question, But if they want the whole diagonal, you take your two pieces, 28, add them together, and you will get the whole thing. Which, silly question because they told us what it was. So, if you have questions, let us know. That's part one. If you need to, rewatch it, okay, go back through it, and just let us know if you have any questions. Come back for part two on squares, which is on the back.